Hello and welcome back to RADBMX Builds, and we're going to talk about the 80s, of course, the greatest decade. To me, 85 to 95 roughly was some of the most epic 10 years of my life. Not only in my childhood, but in the BMX world, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, Sean, why were the 80s so awesome? Well, it's pretty quite simple. That was a time of evolution, individuality, creativity. It was the golden time to be a teenager, and style was everything, but individualism was everything as well. You wanted to fit in, but you wanted to look a little different, a little edgy, maybe a little modern for the time. Bikes were no different, and all the big name companies like GT, Redline, Mongoose, Hutch, CW, Diamondback, the list goes on and on. We're all trying to stand out and be just a little bit different, cutting edge, different style frames, gussets, parts. I mean, it was endless. Every time you went to the bike store, you saw something new that you'd never seen, whether it be anodized, whether it be a cool 80s color, a neon color, a pastel color, you name it. It was endless and it was really rad. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is a little bit of that evolution. I'm going to show you a couple bikes that I have in my collection, and they are truly my favorite bikes. I know I say that a lot. I'm like, hey, this bike's my new favorite bike. These bikes are on the wall behind me for a darn good reason because, one, they're very hard to get. They're very collectible, but they really are my favorite. And it kind of will show you that lineage of evolution of trying new stuff, trying to be different, trying to stand out, but be cool at the same time. All these bikes are rad. I'm gonna bring a couple down, we're gonna talk about it, and then I'm gonna share with you my absolutely favorite bike. And I would challenge anyone out there, if you have a better version of this bike, you need to get a hold of me and show me what that bike looks like. But you gotta own it. You just can't go Googling a bunch of pictures. I can do that on my own. But if you own one better than this, we should be friends. I wanna see it. All right, without further ado, let's pull some bikes down, check out some of my absolute favorite bikes, and talk about that evolution of change, modernization, maybe what they just thought would be cutting edge and cool. Let's show you. All right, this bike behind me is becoming increasingly more rare, and it's one of my favorites. It's a 1987 GT Pro Series. 87 is such a great year. And when I got this bike, I already had a 1987 GT Mach 1. It looked identical to this. And I just wanted to go with those 80s Huntington Beach colors. I wanted to feel like I was 17, back on the Huntington Beach Pier, riding my BMX bike. So I went with those colors again. I duplicated the Mach 1, but into the full-blown team model Pro Series that you see behind me. So let's take a look at the bike, and we'll go over it real quick before we pull down my absolute stunner, my favorite bike, and we're gonna do a couple upgrades to it, along with its little brother, the Mach 1. Okay, so this 1987 GT Pro Series is a full custom build, everything about it. Amy Unitron grips, GT donuts, Dicomp MX lever with lever cover, Dicomp brake cables, an OG dyno number plate, and it has the GT Pro Series bars, Tioga Bear Trap headset, even has the plug in the bottom of the forks, which is almost impossible to find because they're always taken out or fallen out. My favorite forks with the baloney cut stamped GT on the bottom, dyno valve stem caps, blue gumwall Comp 3 style tires, and signed by no other than Kevin the Sheepdog Hole, Pro GT rider back in 1987, rode one of these, mallet stem, GT Flite Huntington Beach pad set, GT seat post clamp, the laid back seat post, and the GT seat up top. Now here's really one of my favorite parts. GT Power Series cranks with the overlay to give it a three-dimensional look. And then we have a GT stamped power disc, a GT stamped chainring, and GT chainring bolts. And then we use the new hardware from Pork Chop and some MKS pedals, the XC3s, sorry. Great pedals, got them in white cages, white and chrome chain, team model decals, and the dropouts are absolutely flawless. Die comp Nippon style rear brake with white brake pads so I don't scuff up the rims. And this bike was reconditioned by Ernie's 80s Bikes and then powder coated. I did a complete build on this, decals, parts, pieces, literally everything on this bike was sourced by myself and installed. Here's what makes the bike different. The brake bridge right there holding on the rear brake in 1987 was completely different than a lot of the other bikes, which made this bike quite unique, and that's what we're talking about. The baloney cut's still there, the dropouts are the same, but they went with that overly complicated brake bridge, and the reason I say that is they only did it for the Pro Series, and they only did it in 1987. Okay, here we go. The bike behind me is, everyone always asks me, what's your favorite bike? What's your favorite bike? And I usually default to my PK Ripper, but if we're talking show quality, absolute perfection, it's this bike. This bike behind me is a 1989 GT Pro Series, and it's quite unique, perhaps even an accident. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But this bike is 100% perfect. I did have to re-decal it, but it's original chrome, covered in a ton of amazing GT parts. Check this out. It doesn't get much better than this. This is what I would consider BMX perfection. The end of the 80s, going into the very early 90s, I think GT had it completely figured out at this point. I built this with Amy Unitron grips, GT donuts, die comp levers. I used the Tech 77, die comp brake cable, the GT 1989 pads from Flite, and then we have stamped GT 4-piece bars and the very hard to find Pro Series dimple stem. Man, those are getting really expensive if you can even find one for sale. And finding one that shines like that, darn near impossible. Bear trap headset. And then again, my absolute favorite forks. And look at the quality of the chrome on this. The shine, the glisten, original chrome, blue washers, high flanged 48 spoke wheels, GT tires. Everyone's gonna go, hey, why are you running these tires? I didn't wanna run knobbies because if I ride this bike, it's gonna probably be on the street. So I ran these. I liked that they say GT, and it's my bike. I do what I want. These are new decals from Elite Decals. I did a whole video about the decal installation on this bike when I did the build. Team model, GT seat post clamp, the straight seat post, and the GT seat. Coming back down to the powertrain, we got the GT Power Series cranks. Again, we got the hardware from Pork Chop, GT chainring bolts, power disc, and a chainring with the chrome and black chain. This is the different part back here that I'm going to talk about. Do you see the rear dropout? The stamping is a newer GT logo, and it has the kick up at the rear, which was not what the 89s were supposed to have, nor was it supposed to have that. That's very particular, and I always wondered why. I can't get an answer. I've even talked to Craig Turner about it, and the best answer I can get is this is a very late production 1989 bike, and the serial number is September of 89, which means, according to everyone I've talked to, they think that they're already moving into the 1990 rear sections of the bike, and they finished up what was left of the 89 front section of the bike. So it's essentially a 1989 stamped bike with a 1990 rear frame. It's very odd indeed. Is it the only one? I have no idea. I honestly don't. But that rear section frame is one of my favorites. I love that kick up right there. And I love that it's still side pull brakes. And if you didn't notice, on the Pro Series, the brake bridge is oval. It's not round and it's not flat. So it's got a little flat oval to it, if you will. And I use a washer under there so I don't destroy that beautiful brake bridge. So another unique feature to the Pro Series, the brake bridge, which, you know, was different on the 87 also. Okay, we're gonna move from the 89 Pro Series to the 89 Mach 1. These are essentially twins, but one's a Mach 1, one's a Pro Series, and the Pro Series has a little bit better parts in my opinion on it. But you're gonna see there's a lot of similarities here, and we'll give you a quick breakdown. OG GT Amy grips, die-comp lever, die-comp brake cable, the same GT dyno Flite pads. These bars are stamped with the GT on them. It's got the unstamped GT stem, super polished. But then it has a Tongi headset, original decals, and then you can see my favorite forks are also on this one. And I had some custom wheels made for it with the jelly bean cutouts, the black nipples. It's got the yellow valve stem caps, and I also ran the GT LP tires on this bike. It has an original GT seat clamp, straight seat post, and GT seat. And then you come down to this chain ring. It's a little bit different. GT Power Series cranks, the pork chop bolt set, an original GT power disc, an original GT chain ring, and just some blue chainring bolts with the chrome and black chain. Then we come back, and this one is an early production 89, a January 89 bike, and it has that dropout with the bubble font GT logo and the baloney cut top tube with the GT logo. I ran the same brakes, but if you look, the brake bridge on this one is completely round, not flat oval like the Pro Series bike. So there's a couple minor differences. Comment down below right now, which one do you like better? I mean, I absolutely like the Pro Series better. To me, there's no question, but maybe you're a Mach 1 guy or girl. Okay, so there you have it, my Mach 1 and my Pro Series, two amazing bikes. I showed you the white Pro Series earlier, and it does have an exact copy of it in a Mach 1 version as well. I'm going through this thing where I'm like, Mach 1 with matching Pro Series. Another year, Mach 1 matching Pro Series. So I have the 87 set, I have this 89 set. Do I go down the rabbit hole and get an 88 set? I don't know. Probably not at this point. Or do I get the Interceptor version of each year? I don't know about that either. But I'm really happy with these two bikes, but now what we're gonna do is add a little customization to both of them. I've had these for quite a while, and then I don't know why, it just dawned on me that I should probably put these parts on, make it the finishing touch to this beautiful duo. No BMX race bike is complete without a number plate, and I happen to have matching, just different color, OG dyno number plates that I think are gonna look really good on this set of twins right here. I think the Mach 1 will get the black one, and the Pro Series will get the blue one. And just like that, the icing on the cake, a simple thing to do, but what a transformation that it makes on these two beautiful bikes. Just adding that race touch to them, I really like it. The black looks really great on the Mach 1, and the blue looks superb on the Pro Series, especially because I already have the blue grips and blue donuts on there. I thought the blue would be a better pop for the Pro Series, especially having the number 1 on the plate. And number 4, one of my favorite numbers, and it just looks so good on the Mach 1. What'd you think of that? Nice and simple, but what a finishing touch. Again, I'm gonna ask you, which bike would you take? I can't decide. Okay, and there you have it. 2 of my favorite bikes, the Pro Series being probably my number 1 choice out of my current collection, and it's absolutely beautiful as you've seen. I hope you liked that. There's many more bike builds, customization, tips and tricks, how-tos, bike shows, interviews, and more. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see that type of content. Give me a thumbs up if you like these videos. Thanks again. I appreciate every single one of you. And as always, stay rad.